All right, everyone. Minnesota is seeking to legalize marijuana. Now, I don't actually support legalizing it because that means it ends up taxed and regulated. I support simply taking the laws off the books and decriminalizing it so that people can do what they want. It's a plant. People are going to grow and smoke it anyway. There will always be people under 18 that access it regardless of how much regulation there is. Again, it's just taking the drug war and trying to make it more lucrative for the state. But now Minnesota has a better idea. They've managed to make the highly regulated pot industry that ensures a continued black market that then they can bust with the IRS mainly, hint hint, and you know, then grab more money from people by making marijuana reparations. Yes, affirmative action for weed. Well, historically speaking, certain communities, I think you know which communities they're referring to. It's a racist policy. It's basically, again, affirmative action. It's ESG for the drug war. Well, certain communities had disproportionate arrests for marijuana possession and sales and stuff like that. Therefore, we're going to give them investment. So when marijuana is legal, they're going to be throwing money at like black-owned businesses. Imagine being so hep to the stereotype as a white liberal. They're like, oh, I'm going to give these black people money to grow weed. Yes, that will help race relations in the United States and totally help break apart several stereotypes with regards to African Americans. That'll be real helpful. Thank you, white liberals. And those are the people pioneering it. It's basically just a cash grab, though, because it's a windfall to people who tend to donate to the Democratic Party because of the skew in voting demographics versus race. It's basically them giving themselves money, and they'll be able to allocate tax revenue, and they'll be able to uplift those poor communities. Yes, I'm sure that the marijuana growing thing occurring in the beat-up neighborhood is not going to get robbed. Nobody's going to steal the marijuana plants. Nobody will be smoking on the job because that's illegal or probably illegal, etc., etc. It's going to uplift people. It'll be just like college affirmative action. College affirmative action does the same thing. When you take people who are not qualified to be nuclear physicists and automatically get them into Harvard based on the color of their skin, they come out and they get fired anyway because they're incapable of necessarily doing their job. Other people who are, they're the same race. Some black person who's got a 140 IQ, they're fucking Einstein or Tesla or something, goes to college, does really well, as a 4.0 GPA at Yale or something. When they get out, all of their white colleagues say, well, maybe they just got in because of affirmative action, and so they think less of them. Actually perpetuating stereotypes and actual bigotry, act and deed. Marijuana reparations will effectively do the same thing. By the way, is that basic policy not effectively illegal? Well, we're going to give money to black people who want to grow marijuana. We're going to give a taxpayer-funded state grant to people to grow something that we used to put them in jail for. We're enlightened, aren't we? I don't see that necessarily working out so well. In the end, it'll probably go through. They'll be very proud about it and say how woke and progressive Minnesota is, when Minnesota, the core of the state, is falling apart with crime. But at least you can get high. At least that's no longer a crime. It's just a crime to not pay your taxes on the weed that you're growing. But if you're a certain skin color, it's all good. We'll front you the money in order to start your marijuana growing business. Sven over there, the Norwegian immigrant, he's not allowed to have that money. He's not part of an aggrieved community. Now, are you going to give money to Irish people of originally Irish heritage, like, their great-grandparents came over during the famine or something? He wants to farm a couple hundred marijuana plants. I think the Irish were definitely historically aggrieved as a group of people. No, say the white liberals, that doesn't count. Basically, all animals are created equal, but some are created more equal than others. Basically, their ethos. They thrive on division between people and seek to highlight those divisions for voting and tax purposes. Marijuana shouldn't be legalized, should be decriminalized. Effectively, the state should just butt out of it. It's not necessary for the state to be involved, and it's not a menace to society. If you want a menace to society, you're looking at alcohol, basically. You've got some hard drugs that are a menace, like fentanyl. It used to be more methamphetamine, heroin, crack. Those can be problematic. Marijuana tends not to really be a societal issue. It's like it's been legal here for half of forever. there doesn't appear to be a societal problem as a result. Hell, magic mushrooms are legal in this country. You can't take mushrooms and go driving or something. You can't do that. People can drink in public here. The limit, I think, for blood alcohol level is actually higher than in the United States for experienced drivers only. By the way, I take my driver's test later, so I'll either be in a very happy or slightly muddy mood later, depending on what happens. I'm reasonably confident. Don't worry, I'm not going to take mushrooms and drive. Sounds like a bad idea. Imagine you're driving along on mushrooms, then the Lucht alarm happens. There's a 17-car pileup. Marijuana reparations. Nah, bro, this ain't the way to do it, which is why a state like Minnesota would be pioneering the concept. I wonder why your state has so many systemic issues. Could it be that the people leading your state have absolutely no interest whatsoever in leading it in a sane manner, and instead would rather fritter away their time with IDPOL and pet projects like this that are explicitly designed to create a new wealthy class of people that, demographically speaking, probably support liberal causes? I think that's probably the reason. Yeah, the white liberal stereotype, they're literally trying to perpetuate the concept of black people as being necessarily involved with marijuana. It's just that it's legal now. But now they're good people. They're good potheads because now they're generating tax revenue. Before it was bad potheads. And you know what'll happen like in California. A significant proportion of all the marijuana that's consumed will still be underground. It will be black market marijuana because in a regulated industry and a heavily taxed industry, you have the ability to be outcompeted by someone who is not subject to the taxation and regulation. So if I can grow my weed, I'm growing it on the sly, technically illegally under Minnesota law, and I grow my plants and I don't have to pay taxes when I sell the weed, and I don't have to deal with filing paperwork, and I don't have to deal with hiring a lawyer to make sure that the chemicals I'm using aren't on some ban list or something. I can sell the weed cheaper. For the lower classes, I'm going to undercut the dispensaries. That's what's happening in California. Only a state could possibly administer an industry and make it like marijuana and make it unprofitable. It's like if you had ye old government brewing company. It'd be the one beer other than Bud Light that would end up dropping like a rock. It'd probably be piss beer anyway, so avoid beer, my friends. That's about all. Peace out.